The opioid crisis is out of control. As a matter of fact, in New Jersey, 3 times the number of people die of heroin overdoses than the national average. So much so that there are groups acting all over the place to try to combat this. Politicians, of course, are full of promises and full of sound bites, and they'll stand at a candlelight vigil, but will they actually do anything? And then you've got to ask the question, no matter what the politicians do, isn't this all about coping skills? Isn't this all about how to overcome adversity? We're going to talk about it today. I'm joined by Rohan Malhotra on Skype. Rohan, hang in there one second. I want to introduce our panel first. Daniel Regan, always good to see you, from CFC Loud and Clear, and Desiree Constantino from CSC, and John C. Thank you for being here. We're joined by Skype. Tony Luke Jr. is with us, Ann Gutos and Sue Harrison from King's Crusade. But guys, before I get you to weigh in on what many think is a very controversial take in terms of the whole discussion of coping skills, personal responsibility, etc., I want to start with Rohan.
Jersey City Police and EMS showed up to the Crystal Point luxury condos on the waterfront to find 5 unconscious males in the building on early Sunday morning around 5 a.m. 2 were pronounced dead at the scene, and their identities have just been released. One is 33-year-old Anjooj Malhotra, and the other is 32-year-old Rishi Patel. According to social media, Patel was a graduate of Pace University, and Malhotra was also a Pace University graduate. Now, authorities have not determined the exact cause of death as of yet for the 2 or the 3 that overdosed and survived. But, you know, from what we've seen, you know, heroin kills and kills fast, but we can't go and say for a fact that it was a heroin overdose. The Hudson County Prosecutor's Office came out to say that this is an isolated incident and the public shouldn't worry. But guys, is any drug addiction or heroin story isolated anymore?
Tony, I want to start with you. You heard what Rohan said. You've got a luxury high-rise in Jersey City, 5 victims. What do you say about them saying that this is an isolated incident? People shouldn't really be worried.
Well, the first mistake you make is to think that addiction doesn't hit every social class, because it does. The problem is they don't talk about it, which is exactly why I started Brown and White, because families, they're not speaking about it. They whisper about it in a room. They don't tell you the truth. They don't want to admit that there is a problem.
On that note, I mean, I said at the top of this segment, Daniel, and you and I have had this conversation on the radio, I feel that in the debate, this ongoing discussion, there's a lot of finger pointing, a lot of blame to go around, very little conversation on coping skills, on how people deal with adversity.
I think every decade, every era has some kind of social issue that they're dealing with, and this is our social issue. We are the cookie cutter generation. Our parents struggled. We had an economy crash. We had the rise of technology. We had a lot of things come socially into our world at a rapid rate that we don't know how to cope with it, and we weren't taught the coping skills that we needed.
Our parents are supposed to teach us, and the problem is that everybody wants to blame somebody else for their children's problem. It's not my child, it's the education system, it's the kids they were around, it's the environment they were in. It's never that individual's problem. There's no accountability.
What do you guys think? Ann, Sue, you want to weigh in on that?
I think that there is a lot of people who do not want to admit that it's in their town, in their schools. I know for a fact I have a son in middle school, and I know how young the issues start, whether it be with marijuana or pills.
Tony, I mean, you know our thoughts and prayers with you. You lost a son. I want to ask you, the science will tell you it's not officially a gateway drug, but now you've got a person running for governor in New Jersey, Phil Murphy, who is the odds-on favorite to win, and one of the first things he's going to do is sign a bill that legalizes marijuana, because to the government, it's only about the revenue.
I'm not an expert what is a gateway drug and what is not a gateway drug. What I do know is that when anyone, whether it's a child or an adult, becomes an addict, it's addicted to whether it's pills or heroin or anything else, there's a deeper psychological problem that's going on. There's something that they're running away from. I think we need to concentrate on the psychological portion of addiction, why people get involved in the first place, and why it affects so many people so differently.
Is this a failing on the part of our society and government that you've got dozens of groups popping up all over competing for resources that are limited, few and far between?
People that have lost children are starting groups. We are all working together, networking to help one another with resources. There is a lack of funding. and there is a lack of responsibility on the part of the government to answer what the hell is going on.
I think the people are going to solve this more instead of looking for a politician or government to solve this. The problem with government and politicians and them making federal laws to help us is the fact that they have an issue. That issue is that people are dying of overdoses, so that they keep driving money to that. So at this point in time, you have to overdose to get any help in the state of New Jersey. So they're actually encouraging people to overdose because that's the only way you're going to get treatment. That's where the grant money is. Getting into treatment is 1% of what recovery is. What is that person doing when they come home?
It's what happens after treatment. It's the post-treatment. It's the lifetime of recovery. All right, thank you, Daniel. Thank you, guys. Appreciate everybody's time today. Thanks for being here. I know it's not an easy conversation.